Jay here from Stretford, Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. It's the FA Cup. It's Nottingham Forest. It's two of the biggest clubs in the world facing each other in another must-win game for Erik ten Hag. Joining me, as always, is Mr. Joe Smith. Before we get into all that, get your phones out. Send us your score predictions to paddockmatchday@gmail.com.
There was quite a lot last week, and it was very good. It made for a very good start to the watch-along, so thank you for sending those in.
30 seconds. Send it to us. We'll use that as part of our pre-match build-up for the game, for the watch-along. Joe, I mean, we're coming off the back of a defeat to Fulham.
Yeah.
It's looking ropey whether we're going to get sort of, Champions League football next season. The FA Cup, it could be a bit of a lifeline for Mr. ten Hag and these underperforming players, couldn't it?
Massively. They need something. It's been so bad this season so far on the whole. I just think that we're not this bad. I don't get it. I don't get why we're seeing these performances, and it's there's part of me that thinks like professional pride has to come into it at some point, and part of what you do is, let's say, exactly how we play at the minute is exactly Ten Hag's tactics. They're following it to the absolute letter, and it's not really working. Obviously, if that's the case, eventually Ten Hag won't be here anymore, because the way we're playing now is not sustainable. But just from a personal perspective, that doesn't stop you from running hard and working hard, and even doing things that maybe the manager didn't quite tell you to do. But if it's to fix things and to help things, then you do it anyway. And I just think that at the minute, it's almost as though some United players are enjoying the fact that the manager's being scrutinised, and they allow that to be their foil for bad performances. And I just think we've seen it too much. And Ten Hag, I think he's got on the text there, he's got the highest win percentage of any permanent United manager ever. So he's not shit. No. He knows how to win games.
I'll ask you about, we get to Ten Hag's job in a set. I want to ask you about silverware, because what would that mean to you just as a fan? Because
of course.
we've barely won the FA Cup. When I was a kid, right, we used to win the FA Cup all the time. Even when United were trash and Liverpool were winning everything, we still won the FA Cup. We won it in 83, we won it in 85, we won it going back further before I was born in 77. Obviously, when the Fergie era came, it kick-started it with 1990. Then we were doing doubles, which obviously involved the FA Cup, 94, 96, 99 as part of the treble. And then it started to stutter a little bit in the noughties, and then now Louis van Gaal's FA Cup win is like the last one we've had in ages. The only one we've had in ages.
Is it one in like 25 years? Two in 25 years?
Which is
something like that.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Like 2004 and 2016.
Yeah,
and
Palace.
Then before that, you go into what the 90s, aren't you? Which is. It's kind of shabby, because at one point we'd won it more than anyone. I think Arsenal have overtaken us now. What would it mean to you as a fan to win this trophy?
It'd be great. However, what I can never shake about the FA Cup is the sense of, or the lack of ability to celebrate the last one because we knew the manager was getting sacked. You can't truly enjoy a day or say this was a great day for the club when at the same time the club is literally admitting by sacking the manager that the club and the situation on the pitch is shit. So it's not the end of it's not the situation like it was in the 80s, and obviously maybe Alex Ferguson benefited from this, where if you win the FA Cup, that's enough to keep your job.
Well, look at Fergie's time when he won the FA Cup. I think we finished 11th or something, or 13th maybe, one of the other. Yeah, like Louis van Gaal, we were 6?
Yeah,
and he got sacked.
So now you can win the FA Cup, but it's not big enough a trophy for that to keep your job. Part of me thinks, I almost resent United for how they handled that, just from a fan's perspective of, we were on the train home after the game, knowing the manager was going to get sacked, and going, well, I can't really celebrate because we have to admit that the club is in turmoil. The FA Cup should be a shining sort of moment for the club, and instead it was like, well, yeah, here's that, and also here's your P45.
It was shabby the way the club did it. And that sort of leads me to the next point then, about Ten Hag's job. You mentioned him earlier. Can this save its job? Can winning the FA Cup and not qualifying for the Champions League, like let's say we just finished 7th or whatever, but he wins the FA Cup. But let's say we do what we did under Van Gaal, 6 in the FA Cup. Does that? I think it was 6 under Van Gaal. Does that keep him his job, or should it?
It depends who's available. I think Nagelsmann is one that people might look at. I think he's got a relatively short-term contract at Germany. Who knows what happens in the Euros? But we can't wait till the end of the Euros to, fucking end of July till we've got a new manager. Oh yeah, you can join the club on pre-season after you've crashed out of the Euros. That doesn't work. I looked at a list the other day of potential replacements, and Potter was at the top of it. Then you've got Zidane, who I'm not even sure ever has even managed a game of football. That era at Real Madrid seems to be like a blur dream sequence. I can't actually imagine him being a football manager, let alone managing Man United. And some of the other options, Pochettino was on it. Come on, he's better than. I'm not saying he's better than Zidane because obviously what he's done, but Ten Hag's better than the rest of that list.
Yeah.
So why are we swapping him? And it just makes me sad a little bit because I know he's not a manager who's completely lacking tactics and ideas and a style of play. He can't be. He had one at Ajax. So this whole thing of, he's come to United and he's forgot what tactics mean, I don't believe it. I just want to see it. So, don't know, just frustrated. I think he could well lose his job, but for me, I would give him next season as a matter of course, regardless of what happens between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see him being an opportunity. It's just difficult. Whenever we lose and you see an awful game, it's difficult not to just feel like, just get rid of the manager, he's terrible. Yeah. And also, if you say that out loud, if you say, like, stick with him, people just start hammering you. Oh, no wonder the club's in the mud when you've got standards like this. Washed, finished, and all the rest of it.
And the thing is, I'm not going to come out and slag off people who want him to get sacked or think he's not doing enough, because I agree with he's not doing enough and we're not getting enough. But I look at it and think that the solution is different to you. I don't think you're wrong or you're bad or you're not a United fan or whatever. We're speaking to people upstairs in the building, in the studio, who think maybe it's not going to work.
No.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just disagree.
No.
So, it doesn't need to be a slag off versus Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out, as that we saw under Solskjaer.
Listen, you can't,
just agree to disagree.
You can't knock anyone for thinking this isn't good enough, because it isn't. And you can't knock anyone for doubting this manager because he's in his second season and it's been far worse than his first season. Yep. I get it. Also, some of us are just like, look, you've listed some of the names there. They're not great. The club's going through this sort of change with the ownership coming on. All these injuries we've had haven't helped. So there's reasons to sort of look at it from both sides. Personally, I'd give him more time, but I'm not going to be too harsh on anyone that thinks they've had enough of Ten Hag ball. Let's talk about our starting or predicted 11s for this game then. Yeah. We'll start with you. You've gone with, obviously, Andre Onana in goal. You've got a back four, Victor Lindelof at left back?
Right back.
Oh, right back, sorry.
Yeah.
The low left back, Varane and Maguire, and then a midfield of Mainu, Eriksen, Bruno, and a front three. Have you got McTominay up front there?
Yeah.
As the striker?
Yeah, because the Diallo thing, it's just to sort of, I don't even know, I'm trying to get something extra out of Lindelof, but I'm sort of doing the thing at defence. Actually, you know what? Swap him back. Put Diallo at right back, keep Lindelof at left back. Okay. Because otherwise, what I'm about to say about the front line makes no sense.
Right.
I'm putting McTominay in there to keep Garnacho and Rashford in their favoured positions.
All right.
Because we saw it the other week, and I'm not blaming Forson for this by any means, but we saw it at the weekend where Forson comes in, so then Rashford gets moved, and then Garnacho gets moved, and you think, well, actually, now we've got none of our front three playing in their best position. Yeah. Whilst McTominay's not a number 9 by any means, and he's not a striker, he can occupy centre backs, he can drag people out of the way for space for other players, and it keeps Rashford on the left and Garnacho on the right. So let's do that. Also, I'm not sure whether Casemiro's fit or not, but I think he's been poor in the last couple of games, especially against Fulham. I just thought the game just passed him by. And I've brought Eriksen in. Let's keep the ball a bit more. And if Casemiro's fit, then we can maybe bring him on toward the end of the game. But I just think we need to see more from players. And just because you're Casemiro doesn't mean that you don't have to run.
No,
if you're not capable or not willing, then you're not playing.
No, I think with Casemiro, we're not sure how fit he is, but I wouldn't mind him being sort of dropped for this one with the derby on the horizon anyway. If he's not 100%, and even if he is, it might be one of those where you go, look, we've got to shuffle it slightly. Yeah. Let's take him out so he's 100% for the derby. This is predicted, right? This is what I think the manager's going to do.
Yeah.
I get your point, but I don't know if he'll do that. Okay. I think he'll do this. So I think that Amari Forson, who didn't really get involved in the game, I don't expect too much from him. It's his full debut. He's only a youngster, but I think he's going to go out. Yeah. I think Amad Diallo is going to come in. I think it'll be Rashford down the middle again, and Amad on the right, Garnacho on the left. I understand your point of trying to sort of minimise the amount of changes, but this is what I think the manager's going to do. And I think Casemiro will be dropped for Scott McTominay. I think we'll see Scott McTominay in that midfield. I'm not a big fan of him starting in midfield. I think he's great off the bench, or you could even give him a go up front. I understand your point of view there, but this is what I think Erik ten Hag is going to do. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think. Forest are a bit of a funny team, aren't they? Obviously, they've beaten us already at the City ground. They have got some good players. Anthony Elanga, done all right there. I think people have got a bit carried away with how well he's done there because it's
a way to criticise Man United.
Well, we can't believe we let Elanga go. Now look at him absolutely smashing it at Forest. He's done well, but I don't think he's been like unbelievable. He's just been a very good player for them.
Yeah.
Go on, say his name because I always pronounce it wrong.
Who? Awoniyi.
Thank you. Yeah.
Awoniyi.
He's a real handful.
Yeah.
He's always very dangerous. He scored quite a few goals this season. I think he's got 3 goal contributions in his last 5 Premier League appearances. I know this isn't the Premier League since returning from injury. So he's someone to keep an eye on.
He was good against us in the first game at Old Trafford as well.
Yeah, they've got a few players, haven't they, that are sort of, have got a bit of a reputation, especially when they were younger. These are the ones to watch. Elanga, Hudson-Odoi. They can cause you problems on the day. Gibbs White is another one, great shout. Yeah. Can cause you problems. With all that being said, though, do you fancy us, or do you think that missing Rasmus Højlund, like we did last time we went to the City Ground, could do for us?
It could do. I know it's a bit dad on the sidelines, or old man theory, but I just want to see United look like they're working harder.
Yeah.
I just want us to close gaps quicker, sprint more. Be interested. Yeah. Like, I know, the first half against Wolves a couple of weeks ago, I thought was excellent. Yeah. And I thought if we could have consistent 90 minutes of that 45, this manager will have no problem keeping his job and being successful even at United. But that's probably the best 45 minutes we've seen all season. And since then, it's been pretty poor, even in the wins. So I just want to see a bit more from the players and not dropping your heads, following your runners, sticking with people, like basic football principles. Stay with the opposition. Don't let them run past. Like, just come on.
Yeah.
Like, just stuff like that. So I just want to see United look like they're bothered. And if they do, we'll win.
What's your score prediction then, that being said?
I do think we will win. I think the fact that it's a cup puts that level of pressure on Forest that they probably can't handle. But I don't think it'll be easy. I'm going to go 1-0 Manchester United.
I was going to go 1-0. I think this is going to be like under Fergie where we went away to Forest in the FA Cup and it saved his job with Mark Robbins getting the winner. I think it might be another one of them, 1-0. But just to be different, I'll go 2-1. Yeah. Just so we've not got the same score prediction. Don't forget to send us your score predictions to paddockmatchday@gmail.com.
Big game this.
Big game. Joe, where can people find you?
Joe Smith 93 on Instagram and Twitter. Go and give me a follow, please.
Yes, you know where to find me as well. That's been Joe Smith. I've been Jay Motty. This has been the Nottingham Forest FA Cup preview. Thanks for watching.